And we're back. Season 6, Game of Thrones. We've seen 2 episodes now. Kevin from Boyz to Nerdz, as always, since we've done it one time, so it's an accurate statement. As always, I have Steven / Steve.
That'll work.
That'll do. That'll do, Kev. That'll do. And Gerald with me.
I'm here.
So, we all watched the episode. Again, this is a very spoiler-heavy review of episode 2, Game of Thrones. Probably would have made a lot of sense for us to look up the title. I don't know what it is. Do you know what it is?
It's Home.
Home? Okay. Home. We'll make sure to do that next.
Our Game of Thrones expert.
Hey man, I watched the episode. I never claimed to know the title. So we've seen it. We're not going to sit here, pick it apart, kind of go through, well, Arya did this, and then she did this, and then they did that. We're not going to do that, but we are going to kind of review it. So why don't we just open up with just opening thoughts. We spent a lot of time on episode 1, so obviously it's a cumulative process. You kind of have to compare episode 1 versus 2 to where we're going. Mm-hmm. Now, try and keep it spoiler-free, because us book readers kind of know some things are going to happen. So let's just focus on TV show reviews. Let's go.
I thought it was a good pickup. Again, they killed off some characters.
A lot of characters.
I did like. And they had some other things take place,
yeah.
Which we all, for the most part, the show kind of this episode kind of followed exactly what we talked about, both in the podcast as well as in our previous review of episode 1, kind of right down the line. But it was still fun and exciting. So though we kind of predicted what was going to happen, I didn't find it boring. I didn't find it dry and predictable. I still thought it was fun. As much as people hate Ramsay, I love that character for the show.
Oh, he's despicable.
And I just think that I'm excited to see what's going to happen with Ramsay now that his father's no longer there. That his brother. His new infant baby brother is no longer there.
Is he? We don't know. He could have survived. Call him the dog whisperer.
And I'm excited to see what happens. I thought it was another step in that right direction, and overall, I was very excited and happy with the episode.
As soon as they came in, one thing I'll say about this episode, I'll let Gerald go in a minute, but I will say, before the season premiered, people were saying this is a fast-paced season. You're not going to have to wait long for certain things. Now, I think we had kind of predicted, if you listen to the podcast, that I said the Boltons were going to eat it. And I definitely specified Roose Bolton. Now, did I think they were going to do it this quickly? No. But as soon as the guy walked in, the maester, and said, it's a baby boy, I knew Roose's time was limited. I didn't think he would not make it through that goddamn scene. but I was just like, Jesus.
I didn't think that Ramsay would be the one to do it.
Oh, I did. I thought they were going to flay him, too. Because Ramsay is sick. All right, Gerald, what did you think at all?
I liked the episode. I thought it was good. It was more exciting than the first episode. Definitely some big things happening. A lot of big things. I think they are moving pretty quickly with what's going on, which is good. They're reaching the end of the story. Overall, I thought it was a great episode.
Big things that happened. I know we said we weren't going to recap it, but the death of Roose Bolton. So therefore, Ramsay's taking over to a very, I don't want to say timid, that's not the right word, but a very vicarious North, to where things could fall apart at any second. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They've obviously had an alliance now with the Karstarks. That's why I don't really like watching those, previously on Game of Thrones, because if they show things from like 5 seasons ago, I know they're going to finish up that plot line.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, God damn it. For instance, in last season, we were introduced to Jaqen H'ghar again, or whoever he is. And in that episode, they had flashback to season 2 when he's just like, here's a coin to Bravos if you're ever there. I'm like, he's gonna be in this episode. Why else would they do this? So death of Roose, I think it's inevitable. North versus the Boltons, or I should say the Wall versus the Boltons, is inevitable. Other big thing, Gerald nailed it. Balon Greyjoy dead, plummeted to his. I thought he would survive. He landed right in the water.
How'd they get his body out?
I don't know, but he must have smashed his head or something. But I thought he survived. I thought they were going to make him splat in the rock. There's like a rock formation right there, and I thought that would have been cool. Like,
mean, hitting the water that hard from that high up is going to kill you.
People who may not have noticed who that was that threw him over, that is, in fact, his brother, Euron Greyjoy.
New character.
Pretty cool. He's been away sailing. He's known as a pirate, so I don't want to get too much into that, but obviously I love how they're reintroducing the Iron Islands into the storyline. We don't really know where it's going, that's for sure. And obviously, I would say the biggest thing in the episode, you have your Sansa finding out Arya's still alive, your Theon leaving. I don't really know why he left. He's going to try and go to the Iron Islands, though. Mm-hmm. And then you had Arya not getting her sight back for the guy being like, good girl, pretty much. Like, right. you didn't lead into my temptations. Other big thing, freaking letting those I don't want to get to the big one. I know what you're going to say. The freaking dragon scene. Did you think they were going to kill him off? Honestly, were you concerned for a second?
I was a little nervous, but I didn't think they were going to kill him. It was exciting. It was cool.
It never crossed my mind.
I was just trying to think to myself, all right, Tyrion has been such a big character, but he doesn't really have anything to do anymore other than to rule in Daenerys' stead. Realistically, they could come over and, try and rule there, but what does Tyrion really have left to do? You know what I mean? He's kind of a broken man at this point, I think. Like, he's still clever, he still drinks and everything, but his love is dead. He finally killed his father. He's banished his brother. In the books, again, I don't want to compare, but in the books, he leaves Jaime on a bad note. In the show, they didn't do that. They were still...
Looks like he's going to be riding some dragons.
You really think so?
I think he's going to help Daenerys come back with the Dothraki, which Daenerys we didn't see in this episode.
Thank God.
But we're going to... we talked about Daenerys coming back with the Dothraki. I think she's going to get the Unsullied, and then they're going to go through Dorne, make their way up to King's Landing, and I think that Tyrion is going to play a role in assisting her with that strategy.
The only thing I can see Tyrion being is if she does inevitably get the Iron Throne is to be her hand. That's the only thing I can see.
Yeah.
Because who else is going to do it? Nobody. That's why they killed off Barristan the Bold, or Sir Barristan. They killed him off. Ian Glenn's character, Jorah Mormont, is... I think he's going to be dead by the end of the season. They keep showing him looking at his grayscale. All right. I don't want to piss the audience off. We'll finally get to the last scene of the gosh darn episode when Melisandre... Why don't you take it away, Gerald? What happens? I mean, people know what happens, but obviously, what's the big thing?
Melisandre looking less droopy boob this time around.
Yes, very nice and perky.
She was able to resurrect Jon Snow.
I loved that scene, I want to say, because as the last episode ended, we saw Melisandre, like you said, droopy boobs and all, just kind of not knowing what to believe in anymore. And this episode was really good because as she was doing the whole procedure, or whatever you want to call it, she was honestly like, I don't know if this is going to work. You know what I mean? And just the way they captured it.
See, I liked the scene, and we all knew this was going to happen.
Oh, I told you, this would be done by episode 3. They are not waiting around this season.
Only thing that I didn't like about it was that it was, like, the thought of it within the show itself was introduced so suddenly. Okay. Like, it literally came out of nowhere to where... Okay, like, they come, he asks Melisandre to do this, but, okay, why has resurrecting somebody from the dead, especially with her and the powers that she's shown that she can have, or that she claims to be able to have through the Lord of Light, why has this never come up anywhere before in the past, especially after Stannis died? Like, if she thought or had ever considered even attempting to do that, why did she never think about doing that with Stannis after he died?
I think she fled pretty early in that battle, didn't she? Like,
she never went.
I swear she came back to, or was that Davos? Somebody came back.
He sent Davos.
He sent Davos away, and then Melisandre, before Stannis... after Stannis' army was half depleted and killed overnight, she fled.
They claim that Stannis has been beheaded, so I know what you're saying, but I don't think you can bring back a beheaded man, because that was Arya's whole thing. She asks Thoros of Myr, can you bring back somebody that's been beheaded? Now, I don't want to say... I see what you're saying. Like, why hasn't that ever come up before? But, I mean, they did kind of explain it. She said, some have this power, I don't. Like,
I just thought it was... Overall, I just thought it was a little sudden, though, because, like, what connection does Davos have to Jon Snow, and what real connection does he have there to...
I think he just thinks he's the right leader. Does that make sense?
I think he doesn't have anything left either.
Yeah,
it does. I like the scene. I just thought it was so.
Think about it from a writer's point of view, though. Like, we know the Night's King and the the White Walkers are gonna inevitably crash through the wall. Not just go through it; they are going to break the wall somehow or scale over it. It's gonna be awesome. You've killed off Jon Snow. Jon Snow is now dead, so he can technically leave the wall. He's no longer a Night's Watch, so you had to do that. Now that he's officially, it's been confirmed, he's brought back to life. We only have 20 episodes left, so if that's going to be the big thing of the show, they need to get chugging along with all this, 6 seasons of crappy story that we've done so far, and that needs to be a focal point for a long time. I think they can't just rush it in an episode or two. That would be such a build-up and such a waste, I think. So they got it out of the way. Jon Snow was literally dead for 24 hours, if that. They got him out of the way, and he came back. Now, transitioning a little bit, we finally saw Bran do some flashbacks. Finally, and it was awesome. I mean, we go to Winterfell, we see Ned Stark, Lyanna Stark.
Yeah.
So you know for a fact that Jon Snow's parentage is going to be revealed this season. Do you disagree?
No, I think that's spot on there.
There's no way they're introducing Lyanna unless that's the case.
Yeah, bringing her back.
So here's my biggest complaints. Of course, I got to sit here and pick everything apart. As a book reader, I've officially had one of the biggest things spoiled for me because there's no way they're bringing Jon Snow back in the show and not in the books. They've obviously talked to George Martin, and that's the plan. We were all kind of scheming that's what's going to happen. It's done. It's confirmed. He's back. My question is, do you think he's going to be the same? Or do you think there's going to be something different? Because remember how Beric Dondarrion was saying, you just, every time I come back, it's less and less me.
Yeah, and I think, looking towards the books again, another character that comes back, Lady Stoneheart, who's not in the show.
Not yet. She won't be.
She's like completely different from when she was alive. So I think Jon's going to definitely be different.
Why didn't he turn into a White Walker? How long is the time frame on that?
I don't know, maybe you have to be near them for it to happen.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking like The Walking Dead, where if you die, you just come back. Maybe you're right. Maybe if you're killed by them. I definitely was thinking of The Walking Dead. Whoops, wrong show. The other things that we saw, though, we know we're going to see some more flashbacks from Bran. Do you ever think they're going to show us Rhaegar Targaryen ever?
I hope so.
Ever? My gosh.
Just to get an idea of
what
who he is.
The most mythic the in the series, the prince that everybody loved and was killed by Robert Baratheon on the gosh darn trident. And we get nothing. We're getting Lyanna, and we're getting that battle. And I'm pretty sure it's, next episode, since I might have seen the trailer. Any thoughts on, how do you think, now that we've seen Bran back, do you really think he's going to play a big role in this just sitting in a tree? The only thing I could think of him doing is communicating to people throughout the region and kind of rallying that way. How is he going to play a factor?
I don't know. A lot of people say they love this storyline, but the other half of people say that they absolutely hate this storyline. There's no real middle ground, and I just have a hard time understanding exactly what it is they're doing with it. I think it's kind of interesting, but at the same time, I really don't see where his storyline falls within the rest of the overarching story.
The only pro,
see how it's connecting.
The only pro I see is, like I said, him being able to see flashbacks, finding out information. Maybe he finds out the root of the White Walkers, how to destroy them inevitably. That's the only thing I could foresee.
Yeah, who the Night's King is, something like that.
Do you think, I know we brought this up, Benjen Stark, will he pop up before the end of the show?
I don't know.
Come on, Joe.
I hope so.
I'd
like to know what happened to him.
They keep talking about him. He was in that flashback. They keep talking about him. All right. Well, the only other things that really happen in this episode that I'm a little nervous about is because we know for a fact the Wall and the North are going to fight. Something's going to happen. If Jon Snow, who is now back, it's official. Man, that guy's fit, by the way. But he's back. If he leads a charge on Winterfell, now that he's free to do that, and the White Walkers bust through, how is that? Do you think that's what they're kind of planning on doing him not being there? because he fudges White Walker's days up with that Valyrian steel sword.
Is he really free, though? Do you think that with the commitment that Jon Snow has made and as the Lord Commander, mind you, anybody outside of the Night's Watch, they don't know that Jon is dead yet.
Yeah.
With, Ramsay, him wanting to say, he said he's going to go kill Jon Snow. When, Sansa or, when the other remaining Starks are talking about what they might do, and Bran, they're talking about Jon Snow as if he's not dead yet. So nobody really knows. I don't know if Jon is going to lead the Night's Watch.
Here's my thoughts, and I'll let Gerald touch in 1 second. I just feel that the entire kingdom is so devastated right now. People are dying. Families that have been, in power for dozens and dozens of years are broken, like the Starks, things like that, the Baratheons. There's just no sense of order anymore. I feel like the Lannisters are so wrapped up in King's Landing with trying to fight off those, what are they called? Not Sons of the Harpy, but the Sparrows.
The High Sparrow.
You know what I mean? I truly feel like they have no power. Tywin Lannister is dead. So if Jon Snow left, at this point, there's no rules anymore. There's no Ward in the North that's going to sit there and punish people. Like, that's kind of the point of the whole War of the Five Kings so who's going to stop him? Honestly. The Night's Watch is just 10 guys left. 2 of them are in cells.
Wait, where's his army?
It's the Wildlings. I'm telling you right now, it has to be the Wildlings. And, like I said, there are still houses loyal to the Starks. That's what they were saying.
But he's not a Stark.
He is a Stark, though.
But he's not. Nobody recognizes him
But
as that.
if they think he's the last bloodline of the Starks, he's a Stark. If Rickon, Bran are dead, if Sansa's who knows where, and if Arya's dead, who else is there left? It's Jon Snow. I get what you're saying. He's not officially a Stark, but at the end of the day, he's a Stark.
Now, this is just kind of a theory, and we may be getting out there, but do you think that perhaps maybe Bran will see in his vision the birth of Jon Snow?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he'll be the one to almost bring that whole situation to light, and maybe the North unites under that, knowing that Jon Snow is, is who he's rumored to be. He's not actually he's part Stark.
He is a Stark. Yeah, it's gonna happen by next episode. I guarantee it. Like I don't know. They could end it very ambiguous to where we still don't find out, but they're gonna resolve it this season. There's no more point dragging out there's so many more bigger things at play here. With the dragons, with the goddamn White Walkers, that who cares who his parents are? That was like pilot stuff. You know what I mean? Like, who cares anymore? But so they're just gonna get rid of it. Not rid of it, but they're gonna resolve it. So he can finally internally accept who he really is, and since he's gonna be, part Stark, part some other big household, wink, wink. Maybe he'll flock to Daenerys. I don't know. We'll see. That's my biggest concern about Game of Thrones is they have done all these mini stories and they've gotten you used to all of these characters that I don't see how it's going to play into the White Walkers. Do you ever just wish they never did the White Walkers? Like, it just doesn't make sense a lot of the times.
No, I like the White Walkers. I think they're a cool enemy to have.
But are they an enemy, though? Like, they're only an enemy to the North, to the Night's Watch, and they're behind the wall.
Well, I think they want to come south and conquer everything. Just turn everything into...
But can they survive in those conditions? These are things we don't know.
Winter's coming, Kevin.
Winter has been coming for 90 years. When do you think winter... I know they say winter's going to be coming, but I'm talking about like 100 feet of snow, castles buried. When do you think that's going to happen? By this season? Or do you think they'll just never do that?
I think if the White Walkers keep coming south, it'll keep getting worse and worse for everyone.
It'll come with them.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen... It's been a slow development, but we've already seen winter come to Winterfell. Yeah, at least.
They just have worse weather. Like I said, winter is bad. Like, the sun doesn't come out anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Babies freeze to death. Oh, man, those dogs, brutal, man, brutal. When you think you just can't hate somebody anymore, he just does that one thing. All right, last thoughts, final reactions. Any big predictions for the next episode? Any other deaths?
Jon Snow's going to die again.
Steve?
No, I think that they killed off a lot of people in the first 2 episodes, and I think that moving forward, it's just going to be a lot of now building off of that. I don't really foresee any major characters dying, at least not until towards the end of the season.
I think the whole Sparrow arc is going to be resolved very quickly because, like I said, they have taken over King's Landing, so they need to get the Lannisters back in somewhat of power. So I think that'll be resolved by episode 4.
Maybe Tommen will grow some balls.
I think Here's an interesting thing about Tommen. Do you think she's going to end up killing Tommen just because she knows it's inevitable and that's what's going to inevitably make her crazy and that's what's going to make Jaime kill her?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm just saying.
That's an interesting.
I'm not saying that my predictions are always right about Game of Thrones, but what can I say? Jon Snow's alive before episode 3. Well, you have listened to our episode 2. What was it called one more time? Home? You have listened to our review on Home. Make sure you check out the Facebook, the YouTube, and we'll be back at it next week for episode 3, which is entitled...
I don't know.
Snake Eater. Goodbye from Boyz to Nerds.